Hello friends! Thank you for joining me today. I know it's been a couple weeks since we've been together, and I apologize for that. We were out of town last week celebrating our anniversary, and at this time last week I was on an airplane, pretty sure. So I wasn't able to get back in time for last week. But I'm back this week, and I'm going to be back for the foreseeable future. So that's great. Thanks for coming. If you're new here, please welcome, introduce yourself in the chat. We have a really great, fun bunch of people that are just really friendly and really helpful, and we love new people and we love our returning viewers. So thanks for that. We're a small and tight little community. So if you are new here, I am Kelly Vaughn, and this week, as with every week, we're going to be talking about number knitting from Virginia Woods Bellamy. This is the original modular knitting book. It's all garter stitch. It was patented in 1952. She printed 5,000 copies. It was by a woman named Virginia Woods Bellamy, and it almost got lost to history. But it was very influential to Elizabeth Zimmerman, and all the modular knitting books that have come afterward all use this as the foundation. And they might not even know it, but Virginia is the one that developed the techniques like mitered squares that we know and love so much. So today we are going to be wrapping up our Hampton shirt knit along, and we're going to start the process of the winged blouse knit along that I've been kind of showing you a little bit over the last few weeks, as apparently I knit mine in the wrong size, so I got some great advice from you all about what to do and what I could do better next time, because there's always so much better that I can do next time. Why? Because my sweater is my swatch. I should put that on a t-shirt. This is my swatch. The finished object is my swatch. So most of the time it works out okay, and I estimate wrong my gauge, and my gauge ends up being tighter than it overall than it is at the beginning. So that means my sweaters are shrunken, not shrunken. They're smaller than they're smaller than I intend. Hey, Bishibi. Yeah, and most of the time it works out. Most of the time it works out great because I like tight shirts. So. As I mentioned, this is number knitting, and I think there's only a couple, maybe a dozen copies left in circulation in the US that are actually, you could actually, check them out. Maybe not even that much, maybe just a few. But I did a number of years ago, I took the time and I digitized this, and it's available both in my Etsy shop and my KnitSwag shop. And I've redrawn all the charts from the whole book, and I make those available to you if you buy the book. So part of this whole endeavor here with YouTube is kind of peeling back the layers of not just the book, but of the author, Virginia, and what her life was like in her time frame and her time period, and the things that led up to her writing this groundbreaking book. And so every week I show off some of my historical research, and there's been a lot. And I thought it would be fun to share with you what I learned this past couple weeks about Virginia. So hey, Anita. I know that I learned that Virginia was married once before she married Francis Bellamy, and we know her as Virginia Woods Bellamy, but for a long time, 8 years, I didn't know what her name was beforehand. And so before her marriage to Francis, I couldn't do any research on her, but I found out what her maiden name was. Not her maiden name, I already knew that, it's Woods. And I found out what her first married name was, and so I was able to find all kinds of stuff about her, all of her poetry and musicals and operettas that she wrote, just amazing stuff. So I wanted to show you that. The reason I was able to find it was because, and I've mentioned this book a number of times over the past couple months, because this book is amazing. If you ever, hold on real quick. If you ever wanted to go to grad school for fashion. Like I did. I thought that would be really fun. But you know, it's like ridiculously expensive and I don't have time. So I would encourage you to check out this book because this was written by a whole bunch of PhD folks that are like fashion historians and teach at colleges. And so like if you want to get a grad school degree without paying the tuition, well, here you go. This book is for you. Okay, so this is The Hidden History of American Fashion, Rediscovering 20th Century Women Designers. Love it. The reason I got this book, or the reason I checked it out from the library, was because number 2 in the book is Virginia Woods Bellamy, our beloved Virginia. And so I've been reading the whole thing, and it goes from like the early 1900s up until like the 1910s, I think. And I've mentioned Virginia before, but what kind of got me thinking this week, as I've been reading kind of like toward the end, is the photo styling. And I know sometimes, like, I was talking with a friend a while back, and she showed me some pictures, and I was like, oh, do you know when those were taken? That was taken in like 1935. And she's like, how do you know that? And I was like, well, you could tell by like the way that they're dressed and the way that they're sitting. Like it's just every decade in photo styling kind of like has its own aesthetic. And so if you can begin to recognize like what that aesthetic is, it's going to like open up a whole bunch of information for you that maybe you wouldn't otherwise know. Like you don't have to know what date it is because you can tell just by like what they're wearing and how they're posing. And so that kind of got me to thinking about the ways that fashion photographers have posed women historically. And this book is a really great book because it covers so many decades. And so I just thought I'd show off a few examples. This one is this is in 1935, and the 20s still had like the 20s was a lot of flapper stuff, but you can tell this is in the 30s even without the date showing because they used a lot of fabric and the poofy sleeves, and she's kind of hunched over a little bit. Now the fabric rationing came in during World War II, and so like this whole thing would have been like way more streamlined in the 40s, but you can tell that this is 30s based on the dress and based on the way that she's standing. Now here's another 1930s one, and I think this is a similar, this is almost like more of a 20s era styling. This is 1933. For some reason, the photographers, a really like fashionable way to style women back then was like hunched over, looking at the camera. And she's got this like kind of leftover 1920s bob sort of a thing going on. Yeah, because like if you were, I don't think that generally people, like photographers don't style people this way nowadays unless they're trying to achieve like some sort of a vintage vibe. You can also tell that this is the 30s because if you look at her eyebrow, like the whole makeup and the eyebrow, like it's stenciling is not the right word. Painting, like I don't know anything about makeup, obviously. But like the way that they would do the eyebrows and the makeup and paint in the lips, it differs for every decade. And that's an interesting study. Okay, let's fast forward. We're going to go to 1945. And you see this was right around the time that World War II ended. You can see the evening dress is like, it's long, but it uses less fabric. It's not like, it doesn't have those huge poofy sleeves. But here's something, and I don't know when this whole thing started, the weird arm positions. And that's what really got me this week. I've been looking at pictures of models in the 40s and 50s, and I'm like, what in the world is going on with their arms? It's so unusual, and it just kind of struck me. I was doing a little research trying to figure out like when did the whole weird arm positioning come about, and I don't know. I was trying to find information about like historical photo styling, like the history of it, because there's people nowadays that put out videos like how to do a vintage photo shoot. Well, that's great, but that's not what I'm interested in. I want to know like the history, like a book like this, but about about photo styling. So I don't know. I need to do a little bit more reading, but I just thought that was something that is worthwhile if you're into vintage fashion. It would be a good study to kind of like compare and contrast the different decades and like see how the fashions changed and to learn more about them, so that you have more understanding of the different decades just by looking at them. It's fun. It's like a cool party trick. Okay, Nishibi says she's not quite finished with my Hampton. That's okay. Sometimes that happens. I had to make some adjustments on mine too, and I'm going to be showing those off in a bit. Okay, the next bit of historical research that I was doing was I was looking through archive.org, and I've been typing out different variations on Virginia's name, like Virginia Bellamy, Virginia Woods Bellamy, Virginia W. Bellamy, number knitting, like all these different combinations. And and I got a 7-day subscription to some like archival newspaper website, and I think they want like $30 a month to continue, but I get 7 days for free. So I did that, and I did a whole bunch of research on Virginia. And no joke, guys, I thought I had all the newspaper articles about her. Oh no. There's dozens, and it went all the way from like New York all the way to Shafter, California. And I don't know if you know where Shafter, California is, but no joke, it's like this little podunk farm town out in the middle of nowhere in California. Well, it was when I was growing up, but it was a little farm town, and it was small town. And even in Shafter, California, they had an article about Virginia, which is wild. So I went in and grabbed screenshots of all of the articles, but the one that really got me this week was, so if you remember, we talked about the timeline of like, when Virginia moved to Elliott, which is where she lived when she wrote the book, and her daughter went to high school, and then when she moved to Blue Hill Falls, and then when she moved to Castine. So her daughter Jane, I believe, graduated in 1948. Well, in 49, Virginia was still living in Elliott, Maine. And I know that because in the newspaper for like 3 or 4 consecutive days, it talked about her number knitting fashion show. So she, at Elliott High School. So she knew the high school English teacher, Mrs. O'Bray, and they were friends because, Mrs. O'Bray was mentioned in the number knitting book, and that's where her daughter Jane went to school, and that was her daughter's teacher. So Jane had left for college, but Virginia still had a connection at the Elliott High School, and she did a number knitting fashion show and a fundraiser, and I think it was for the senior class of 1949 of Elliott High School. And I thought, well, that's awesome. So they advertised it for like 2 or 3 days leading up to it, and then like a day or two, and then the day of. And then the day after, they were printing a daily paper in Elliott in the late 40s, which is kind of wild. My small town only had a printed paper once a week. No, once a month? I don't know. But yeah, they had a daily paper, and she was featured in the paper for like 4 or 5 days with her number knitting fashion show. So that's pretty neat. We should do that sometime. I don't know when, because we all live far apart. But don't you think that'd be fun? I do. Okay. So another research thing that I've been doing this week, I've been trying to find out more about the towns where Virginia lived. And so the town where she finally landed was in Castine, Maine. And I think it's like on the southern, Maine is kind of well, if you're from Maine, you'll be able to describe it better than I am. But it's kind of like on the southern portion of Maine. I think it's by Acadia National Park. It's a lovely area, and it's very popular with tourists and like the summer crowd. And so Virginia landed there in about 1956, and she lived there for approximately 20 years. And so I've been wanting to learn more about the town. Like, okay, why did she love it so much? And it's a cool town. And so what I found is this old book. It's probably like one of 2 copies in libraries around the world. It's called The Ladies of Castine. And what this is from the minutes of the Castine, Maine Women's Club. And the records the minutes that they pulled from were like from the beginning of the club. Here it is. 1913 is when they started, and I think it went all the way up to 1941, the time period of this book. And so the reason that I thought this would be so interesting is because in 1913, Virginia would have been 23. Now, she wasn't living in Maine at the time. She had, in 1913 is when she got married for her first husband. But like the things that they talk about in this book were like the things that were going on when Virginia was a new wife and a young mom and that sort of thing. And like, I don't know about you, like, probably most towns have a women's club, and I think they've always been, at least in my lifetime, they've always been like the little old ladies club. Like I because those are the only people that go to them, because like the younger people have day jobs or kids, and so it's not ever anything that I've ever personally been a part of. I drive past the building, but that's about it. And so this book was really interesting because it talked about like why there was a women's club, and it was started kind of as part of the suffragette movement. So the women didn't get a right to vote, I believe, until 1920, and so for decades before that, they were like the kind of like the social engineers within the community, and they would try to beautify the community and come up with better ways to take care of the children, and have food safety, and they would write letters to their congressmen and their representatives and that sort of thing. And the women's club was like the formalization of that civic movement to try to better their communities. Now, they didn't have the right to vote yet for a long time, but and they were instrumental in getting that. But like the whole women's club movement about the health and wellness of the community, it was through the women's club movement. And I thought that was really interesting, because if we read Abe Books has a new copy, a Ladies Castine of $67.85. Yes, it's new, but this is from 1986. But like if you've read Virginia's book, I mean, if you have the copy and if you've been watching the show for a while, like, she was a really smart woman, and she mentioned all of the people that helped her with the projects, and she was just like, she was very, very educated, not college educated, but very educated. And that whole idea, I think, was like normal back then, at least in this part of Maine. Maybe it wasn't in like other parts of the country, like in the Appalachian Mountains or something, but like in this part of Maine, it was normal. And these women, they were fighting for the right to vote, and they would get together and they would read, have lectures on interesting topics from around the world and news articles, and they'd petition to, write their congressmen, and they were involved in all sort of civic efforts, from like how to properly can your food and food sanitation to helping end child labor, and we need to designate money for a gardener to keep the town clean, and like trash receptacles on Main Street and that sort of thing. And they really worked hard to better themselves and better their community. And I'm like, wow, that makes sense. Like, that's the kind of place that Virginia would move to, and those are the kind of people that she would surround herself with. So I'm like 3/4 of the way done. I think I'm up to like 1920 or so, but it's a great book because there's little excerpts actually from the minutes in the book. But then, like, here's an example. December 23rd, 1926, Miss Nellie Harvey gave an illustrated talk on the sesquicentennial recently held in Philadelphia. The club members felt the next best thing to attending the sesquicentennial was to hear Miss Harvey talk about it. And I think that they were like, these women were involved at like the state and local, or the state and national level of like the larger women's club organization, and they were really, really active. But there's also other kind of like commentary about it, sort of like a storytelling. And so it's a great book. It makes me want to find see if my own little small town has got a women's club, and just to learn, not that I would go because I'm busy, but like to learn about the history of the town and like what the women were doing, back in the day. All right. Did you already say how you discovered Virginia's name? I think I forgot to say that. I discovered that in this book, the first one I talked about, The Hidden History of American Fashion. And Virginia is, there's Jane. Virginia is chapter 2, and somewhere in this section, probably on this first page of Virginia's article, so this would be page 23, it talks about the name of her first husband, and his last name was McCall, Mackall. So her name was Virginia Woods McCall. Okay, so check this out, guys. This is wild. Once I where is it? Here we go. Oh. Hold on. Forgot to plug my computer in. Here we go. So I went to archive.org and I did a search for Virginia Woods McCall. There we go. And more stuff came up than when I searched for Virginia Woods Bellamy. She was a poet. And not just like once or twice, like for decades. She was very, very prolific. And, I knew that she had some poems published in the New Yorker, but now that I think about it, it was like 250 or something. But yeah, she was published in so many places. It's wild. And so if you ever wanted to do a search on the archive, go to archive.org, click on books. Oh wait, go to advanced search. That's what you want. Advanced search. And then you want any field contains, we'll do Virginia Woods Bellamy because I know what will come back. I think this is it. And then you want to do the search text contents, because if you just keep it on the first one, it's not going to work. So search text contents. So it's going to go through the text contents of all the books, all the magazines, all the everything. And then it'll bring up, all of her stuff and all the different knitting books where she's mentioned. Yeah, and then you can also filter by like year and year of publication and what type of publication and all of that great stuff. So it's quite the treasure trove that people have put up there. So that's how I found out about that. And when I was doing the research on the newspaper articles, I found out that her son. I found out she was married. She married her first husband when she was 23, and she was 25 when her first son was born, and that was in 1915. And according to the timeline, she sometime during the 1920s, I believe, or sometime between 1915 and 1920s, and I haven't pinpointed those dates yet. She got tuberculosis and was confined to a sanatorium, the TB ward. I don't know the right word, but she was confined to the tuberculosis, hospital, and she was away from her husband and her young son. And it was in 1925, after she had been married for 10 years, that she divorced her first husband, and then in 26, she married Francis Rufus Bellamy. They had Rufus, their son, in 29, and then they had Jane. their daughter in 1931, I believe. But I thought that the first son, I thought in my mind that he was like 8 years old or something when he died. But no, he died in either 1930 or 1931. He was 17 when he died of polio. And that was like, wow. And it was right after Jane died. So Jane was born. So she was born in like 31. And I think the older boy died at 32. I think that's what it was. So like Virginia is, she's 40. She's in her early 40s. She's got 3 kids. 2 of them are like under the age of 3. And then she's got a 17-year-old, and the 17-year-old dies of polio. Like, that's horrific. That's really hard. Yeah, so I'm trying to find out more about the timeline to fill in those details. I don't know that I'll be able to, but I'm going to keep trying because I want to learn. I want to learn more about Virginia and her history. So, okay, it is 6:30. I had more research that I had done, but I might have one other thing that I could show you. Let's see. My historical research folder on my computer it's getting big, let me tell you. I can't find it right now. I'll have to show you later. Yeah, but I found some of her poems, like not in the New Yorker, but like published secondary. So when I track those down, I will share those with you. All right, so let's talk about the knit along. Okay. So here is so many books. I asked my husband recently, like, because I have so many books that, like, if I put them all on the shelves, the shelves will collapse. And so I just pile them behind my office door. But then you, like, can't open the office door all the way because it's full of books. And so I asked him, like, hey, do you think maybe, like, this summer we could build me some bookshelves? And he's like, what for? I'm like, well, because I've got 500 pounds of books that I need somewhere to put, because if I put them on my current shelves, they'll collapse. So hopefully this summer I will have adequate book storage. Okay, Hampton sweater. All right, so this is my Hampton sweater that I've been working on. Yeah, so I did the when I did mine, when I calculated my square with the handy dandy stitch calculator where you plug in the bust measurement and it will calculate your squares. When I calculated mine, I was tired and I put in the wrong number, and this ended up being a 16 by 16 square. It should have been 24 by 24 or like 22 by 22. That would have been, it would have fit me with a little bit of positive ease. And if, I think all you guys know this, but for people that are new to that terminology, I don't want you to feel left out. Positive ease is the amount of space between your body and the garment. And so like if you put on socks, those will have negative ease and the socks will stretch out to fit your body. And you can do the same thing with sweaters. Put on, the sweater, tight sweater, and it expands to fit your body. I generally like that in my sweaters, and you know what, with this 16 by 16 inch minor square, I got it. So what I did the squares, I added like a little small gusset right here, and I did gauge shifting. So like these are bigger needles right in here, these are smaller needles. I did a few inches of ribbing. It seems bigger here, but when I put this on my body, it seems like it should have been about like that. But whatever. I did a tubular bind off, and I'm not taking that out. So it is what it is. For my sleeves, I kept the stitch, the gauge, then the needle size the same, and I just adjusted my stitch count. So this was, I think, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and so forth. I did a little I-cord border, very small. I think I need to adjust the brightness on this camera. It seems a little dark. Viewers. Okay, and then up here on the neck, I did sort of like a split neck opening, and then I added, it was a 2x2 rib. I did it nice and tall, like this tall, and then I folded it in half, and so this whole thing is double right here. And then I stitched it down, and then I added like these two like front placket things, and I don't know if you can see it very well on this camera, but I did it open like 26 or 27 stitches wide, and then I folded it in half, and to make it have a nice fold there on the edge, I slipped the center stitch, and I also added a few more lines of slip stitches on the sides here, just to kind of give it some interest. But if you have like a stockinette piece of fabric and you just have a line of slip stitches, it will naturally want to fold on that line, so it's nice and crisp. And then I did another one of those, and after I had done this one, this whole thing was like, it was way stretched out. It was way too long, and so I had to totally detach this piece right here and like take out an inch off of the top and regraft it and reattach it, and that took me like an hour. That's okay. I think it works pretty well. I think in the future I'd probably, for this whole neck treatment with the double like flap thing here, I think this works better if it's a little lower. Like, I think next time I would want to do it about to here, because it seems like a little, when I put it on, it seems like a little bit short. And, but I like it. I wanted to wear this sweater for you all today, but this is an alpaca blend, and no joke, this thing is hot. It's so hot. I should know that because I finished like a 2 or 3 pound alpaca sweater, and it's so hot. But this is a lighter weight wool. This is like a light fingering, not a worsted, and I was like, it'll be fine. But under these lights, anyway, I'm gonna put it on real quick so you can see it on. So I'm just gonna unclip this microphone for just a sec. I'll have it off to the side. Oh. I lost my pop filter. The pop filter is that little styrofoam thing, and it's some more in my shirt. All right, I won't be able to keep this on for. Sorry, I won't be able to keep this on for very long because it's just so hot. But I'll put it on real quick, and then I'll take it off real quick. Now I haven't tried this on since I steam blocked it today. Ooh, I'm already sweating. Okay, so here's the sweater here, so you can see like where it sits on my waistline. Put on some low rider shorts so you can see. So this is about how low it goes. So it's like, here's my navel. So it's, it's not bad. It's a little shorter than I would like. The sleeves, I think, are maybe an inch shorter than normal, like store-bought sweater sleeves. But that's okay because usually my sleeves on my sweaters, my store-bought sweaters, they're like all bunchy. And so I kind of prefer these a little shorter. But it comes up really high in the back. I added a few extra, I found my pop filter. I found a few other, I did about six short rows at the back of the neck in the ribbing, and I also did, I don't know, probably about the same amount of short rows in the ribbing on the low back to just give it a little bit more length. Okay, I'm burning up. I gotta take this thing off. Woo! Good gracious, that's hot. Okay, so I am debating. I thought I might want to keep this for myself and just like wear it as a base layer for skiing, and it would totally work for that. I have a very short friend who would fit this very well, but she lives in San Diego, and so like I don't know that there'd be many occasions where you'd need a ski sweater in Point Loma. So I might just keep it for myself and send her something else made of, I don't know, cotton or something. I think I am going to enjoy it when I go skiing. I agree. Yeah, so that's the Hampton. That's the Hampton. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I just finished it this morning. Yay. All right, let's talk about another Hampton. This one's from Stephanie. She sent me a box of sweaters a few weeks ago, which was just spectacular. Just so I could, take a look at them and show them off and like look at the construction and all of that. So thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, I love what she did. See, this is so great. This is why I need you guys here to help me, because what she did was exactly, now that I look at her sweater more closely, exactly what I wished I had done. Instead of going, just having the split neckline to here, she went down a little further. And so I think the sweet spot is like for a neckline is like the halfway point between the shoulder, like the depth of the sleeve, like draw a line about, oh wait, no, well, sort of. It's just because these top ones are a little smaller than these. So yeah, it's just a little bit lower than the halfway point of the sleeve depth. I think is a good open neckline. Because if you go down to here, well, too much is going to show. Way too much. And if you've got, a lot going on up top, that can be problematic pretty quick. So yeah, I think this is probably about good for us middle-aged ladies. And she did this really great. I think that Anita did the same thing on hers with this little wedge here along the front edge. And because if you were just to do a neckband like along the edge, like the turtleneck, it's like too far out. But I've noticed that both Anita and Stephanie in their sweaters, they added a little bit of depth here to kind of bring this up. And so I forgot to show it on my sweater, and you can't really see it because my sweater's black. But I did the same thing. I copied what she did here, and I made this little wedge. And I think it amounted to about 6 short rows here, or 6, maybe 12 short rows, because this is 6 ridges. And I think her square was like 24 by 24, like 28 by 28. So about 1/5 or 1/6 of this square, add that much in short rows as a wedge. And she also she added that same amount of height here at the top to kind of like raise it up in the back a bit. So she's got the wedge in front, and then she's got those ridges. And how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the sixth one is the gray. And I love how adventuresome she is with her colors. Like I get very nervous about mixing colors too much in sweaters, because I never buy adequate yarn. Well, I have like one skein of like 70 different colors and types of yarn. Like, what do you do with that? Because I don't order yarn for projects. I'll make yarn for projects, but generally I'll grab a skein off my shelf and be like, what can I do with this? And I'm never quite sure, so they build up. But sometimes I work them in. But I love how adventuresome that Stephanie is on her shaping, but also her use of color. See, like what she did here, because the original Hampton vest in the book was sleeveless, and so it stopped here. But Stephanie, she added sleeves to hers, and they're like, I think she did the same thing where she adjusted stitch count. Let me see if I can feel. Maybe she adjusted gauge. I'm not sure. But she made like these, they're kind of like more bell sleeves. They're definitely not fitted cuffs. They're more loose. And check this out. This is super cool. So she added on the top, there's like this, the lines go in opposite directions, and it's like this optical illusion, and I just love that. And she did, is this like a seamed ridge? Like, I think she does like a crochet. I don't know how she did that. I think it's just like it picked up and knit two together or grafted or something. But this purple line here with these squares going in opposite directions, marvelous. Love that. Love it. And then the single, like the only gray and white squares in the whole sweater right up here is just like, yes to all of this. Oh, but wait, there's more. Okay, so this is the front bottom of this sweater. So the top of it is up here by like my waist, right? So what she did, and this is brilliant. This wasn't in the book. She added, there's a whole row of extra divided squares here, and she, instead of just like what I would have done, is just follow the pattern and seamed the front to the back, right? And that makes it kind of like fitted around the waist and hips and all that, which is fine. But what she did, which is great, instead of having it fitted, she made it open up 2 squares, and she added this extra 2 big squares, and she added this extra row of divided squares, and just like kind of attached it over. Looks like she picked up from here and attached it over the back, and so there's a little bit of extra coverage right there by about, I don't know, what's that, 2.5 inches? Yeah, about 2.5 inches of extra coverage. So it's still open, but it's not like wide open. And she did that on both sides. And I just think that like that's a really fabulous detail, because for some figures that works awesome. Like everybody wants their own sweater to like complement their body type, and she just did such a great job. Yay! Congratulations, Stephanie, you're a rock star. I'm learning so much from her. So that's Stephanie's sweater, which is fabulous. If you haven't posted your Hampton sweater in the Ravelry group, and you want to be eligible for the prize, let me see. Here it is. Where is it? There we go. Okay. So here is the, let me go to the number knitting group. This is the number knitting group on Ravelry. If you scroll down, here is the Hampton shirt, knit along Hampton shirt. And there's only a few people that put their posts in. Again, you've probably seen this last week. This is Anita's fabulous sweater. I love that neck treatment with those little I-cord curly Q things. That is super cool. I was going to do that, but then I forgot. So I have a turtleneck sort of a thing. But anyway, if you haven't posted your completed project in here, and you want to be eligible for the prize, please do so, because your chances are very high that you will win a prize because our group is small. And I think, let's see, there's Stephanie, there's Anita, and Cats and Betas, Mishibi. She hasn't finished hers yet, but she will. I'm confident before the month is over. And I don't get a prize because this is my my show. So the chances right now are 50% that you will win. But it could be 30% if more of you, if even one more of you signs up for the knit along. So do that. Oh, okay. Yes, I agree that that Stephanie's sweater is very nice and her details are brilliant. Yes, yeah, that's why I sent my Hampton, my copper cardigan for her to finish with like those little Chinese knot things, because once I got that far, I was like on the verge of tears and on my wit's end. So yeah, she did great. Okay, so let's talk about the winged blouse. Okay, winged blouse. We had talked. Oh, and I'm diving into this because that's going to be our next knit along starting, I guess, beginning of July. And I know technically I had said I was going to do 2 knit alongs for spring. The first one was the Hampton, and I did 2. I did a baby one, and then I did the black and teal one that I just showed you. So that one was done. But I also said I was going to be working on the bodice blouse with cape scarves. And I was making good progress, but once I got to those sleeves that were like this wide, I kind of lost my mojo. And then I went on vacation. So I haven't made any more progress on that. I haven't even ripped out anything. Yeah. So that one isn't a holding pattern, but I'm going on a trip pretty soon, another trip, because that's my life. And I'm going to take that one with me because I think I can do it. It'll be a good road trip project. Anyway, so that one will make an appearance again at a later date. I haven't forgotten about it. I wanted to finish up a couple of other things that I was closer to. That being said, winged blouse. You all, I was so befuddled with this thing a couple of weeks ago. I had to like bring it out early. I was going to hold off until it was done, but then I was like, what have I done? So let me show you what it's at now. I need that tape measure. Okay, so this is winged blouse currently. It actually is coming along. What happened was that like I cast on using the wrong box number because my garment is my swatch, and so I get into trouble, and that's not Virginia's fault, that's my fault, because she says test your gauge, and she said the blouse would fit to a size 32. So anyway, so what happened is I cast on a size that I thought would fit, and it does fit, and it's got the negative ease that I like. It fits great, but the issue is that in the book, the girl wearing the sweater was small, the sweater was ginormous, and you couldn't tell because the whole thing was like stuffed down into her skirt, and so we actually have no idea like how huge that sweater was on that girl. That's where the issue came in. So my sweater right now, originally this is how long it was, and it's a little short. It's a like kind of a crop top. This is the back. Here, I guess I'll measure from the front so you can see like the little white front thing. So this is what it was originally, and this is small, you guys. This is 13 inches from here to here, and so like on a person, that sweater fits about right there. That's about where it falls on me, and so it comes about to my, not quite to my navel. The fit is fabulous. It was just a little short. And so Mishibi was asking, did you sort out the difference between the two versions? I think so. So let's take a look at that real quick. So this is the sweater on the girl. I wish I knew if this was Jane, but I don't know if this is Jane. Anyway, so this is the sweater on the girl, and if I had the actual photographic print, I could probably figure it out, but I don't have the photographic print. I just have this scan from the book. And the issue is that it's dark up here, and then she's photographed, and it's like all plants behind her, and you can't tell like where the sleeve and her body ends and like where the shrubbery begins. It's like all obscured. That's an issue. And so if you look at these sleevey things, these little scarfy things, they look like they're about 12 inches long at the point of attachment on the sweater. And so let me measure mine real quick. So my little scarfy things from the point of attachment of the sweater, which is right there, my little scarves are 6 inches, and hers look like they're about 12. So that would kind of make sense, because if you look, I mean, you can't really tell like what's going on with the sleeves. These sleeves sit much higher on me than they do on hers, and so I think this sweater is just really, really big on her, and they just hit it really well. So if you look at this white section and how it goes down, when you scroll down to this other picture, this white section, it goes all the way to her waistline. And I'm thinking if you were to take this beige and this black and flip them, and so this would be black, this would be black, and this whole part would be beige, it could match that, except for the fact that this white like center triangle thing goes all the way like really, really far down. But like if you put a 3X size sweater on a girl with like a 32-inch bust, it could very well do that. And so what I was confused about was that the bottom point of this white triangle thing is kind of like in line with the underarm, right? And so if you look at this other picture, the bottom point of this white triangle thing is like it's like inside of her skirt. Like you can't even see it. I mean, I wish that they had untucked this on her, but like that probably wouldn't have been flattering. But like if this is the same sweater and it's just flipped, like this scarfy length thing would make sense, but like the bottom of this white triangle would be like in line with the underarm. So like unless they pinned these sleeves back, and maybe that's why they photographed it on a dark background and the sleeves are just ginormous. Yeah, that's as far as I got on this thing as far as determining like making sense of this whole setup with this thing. Yeah. Oh, and you didn't see any of that because I wasn't showing my screen. Awesome. Okay, take two. Sorry, guys. Okay, so this white triangle thing, it is in, like, on the flat sweater, it's like in line kind of with the underarm. And so if we were to take the flat sweater and on the model sweater and flip it, like, these sleeves would be black and this whole section would be beige. Like, that's a possibility if she was wearing a gigantic 2X, 3X sweater and they just, like, maybe pinned it back. But, like, I still haven't figured out how this white triangle section, like, how there's not, you know, sleeves that go down to her elbows. So I still haven't really figured it out. Yeah. Sorry about talking about all of that and not showing you my screen. Yeah, the photo of the model on page 205 and yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Technical difficulties. If I had a producer, I should give you guys my cell phone number, so, like, when I screw up, you can, like, text me and I'll get the notification on my phone. Oh dear. Okay, so how did I fix mine, or how am I fixing mine? So what I'm doing on mine, because this all fit, like, I liked the way this fit. It just needed to be longer. And so what I did is that the issue, it's not really an issue, it's just something to consider. This is a divided triangle here. In the original pattern, this was knit on the larger needles, like these units and like this unit. So I did this on a 5, I did these on a 5, and all of these things were on 7s. Now, if you look at the original sweater, you can see it kind of flares out at the bottom. And in the original pattern, this divided triangle here is supposed to be on the larger needles. And that, in my mind, that's going to contribute to this, like, sweater flare thing, which I did not want. And so what I did for mine was I knit this unit and the corresponding one on the back. I knit that on the smaller size to kind of, like, tuck that in a bit. Now I know that doing so, that would also, like, make it just a little shorter, but I don't know that changing from a 5 to a 7, it might have adjusted it, like, by 1/2 inch, but I mean, this stuff is stretchy, so, like, who cares? And that still wouldn't have been long enough to cover my navel. So I decided to add some extra length here on the bottom with divided squares. Now, in the book, Virginia says you cannot pick up and knit from a biased edge unless you want a pucker. And that's true if you do it at a 1-to-1 ratio. But if you do it, like, at a 1.4 ratio, it works. But what I thought would be nice, because this is, like, the thin part of my waist, right in this area, but after that, as it goes toward my hips, I wanted it to come out just a little bit. And so what I did was I added some more stitches. And so this whole, I think this was like on my sweater, this was like a 48 by 48 divided triangle. And so that meant when I was done, I had 24 bias edge stitches across the bottom here. And So what I did is in each one of those stitches, I picked up 2 stitches. And so I started here and I cast on 24, I picked up 24, and I worked a divided square. And then I did the same thing over here. And so that's going to give me that little bit of spread that I was looking for. But I also knitted on the smaller needles, so it's going to hug really nicely. And of course I didn't have enough of this color because this is like a really long color changing yarn. And so originally I had like wound off different balls of it into different colors, but I'm kind of like at the end. So I just alternated like a purplish row with like a purplish greenish row. And I don't know if you can see it very well on the camera, but like this section and this section are slightly different colors. And I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, it's okay. And I'm sure once I put it on, it's going to look awesome. And like, I won't even care because it's going to like hug everything so great. But yeah. So anyway, I did the first part. I still have to do the back part of that thing. And then I have to figure out these scarfy things. This attachment here was a little wonky. So once you get to that section in the book, the sweater, because we'll chat again before that, but this was kind of weird, but I figured it out. So what I need to do is I need to just add some depth to this, and I don't know how yet. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I seamed this. I might have seamed that. I hope I seamed that instead of just like picking up and joining as I go, because that way I can just open that up and add more width. As it is right now, I don't know where I would, I don't know how to add the width. So I'm in a little bit of a conundrum that I just didn't realize until just now. Wah, wah. Anyway, so I'm making really good progress on that, and I'll get it figured out. This is why I knit these things ahead of time, and I don't just like release the patterns into the wild. I had another person that say, like, how's the publishing effort going? I'm like, oh, I can't just set these things free. Like, I think people would be ticked. So you got to work at the kinks first. So with that in mind, Anita asks, could you knit the scarfy things on a bigger needle? I could, but it's already, it's single ply, like light, like lace weight yarn, and it's already on size 7. So, I mean, it's pretty lacy already, and I don't know that a bigger needle would be sufficient. I think it needs more fabric. Yeah. And of course I don't have any more of this purple, but that's okay. I'll figure something out. I might, and if I do have to rip out these scarfy things and like do it again, that's not a huge deal. I'm pretty sure I seamed it, so it won't be that much to deconstruct. I mean, it might take me like, I don't know, 20 minutes to rip these out to my liking and then just add more fabric, and that's fine. Yeah. So, oh, hey, Lisa. Oh, off current topic and back to Virginia's background. Yes. I don't remember you saying she remarried her second husband. Yes, she did. I don't know when. Based on some current research, well, current to me, new to me, it was from 1959. I know it was after 1959 that they remarried. I don't have any details other than later in life. I know they lived in Castine together, and that they're both buried in Castine. I don't know at what point they got remarried. I hope to determine that, but I don't know. But yes, she did remarry her husband later in life. Yeah. So one of the things I've been working on this this week. If you look in the description of the video, I put the link to this chart, and this is available for like the whole course of the knit along. So from now, which is June 25th, 2023 until September 30th, 2023, this link will be active. After that, it will be no mas. So download yours now. So what I did in this pattern, so if you look at it starts with, it's a Dropbox link, and that download link has got this shirt, so page 205 of the book, 206 of the book. And if you're wondering what those highlighter marks are about, I just use those for my own benefit to like designate the different needle sizes, because it is very, very easy to just like knit without any, like from the chart, without any indication of needle size. Like you'd have to constantly refer back here and then back here and like checking every single page every single time. And so what I did is I just color coded them. So big needles are peach and littler needles are light blue, except this is how it was in the original book. On mine, I decided to also make these units 14 and 17, also the smaller needles, but that's up to you. So here is the new chart that I made, and here's the little color code for your needle sizes, and you can determine what your own box number is, and the box number is the number of stitches per box on the chart. And the way, I think in the original pattern it was box number equals 3 stitches and 3 ridges. But like if you want to use a different gauge, or like you have a different body size or whatever and you need a different box number, here's how you calculate it. You click on this link here, or you could just go on my website. The website address is there. I think it's also down in the description. So click there and it's going to take you to, oh, I already had it loaded. There it is. It's going to take you to the website with this. It's got a little bit of description about the patterns, some of the things I found confusing. Keep scrolling. And I apologize, the formatting on this isn't great, but you know, it is what it is. So what you do is you plug in your bust measurement and your gauge. So like if you have a 44-inch bust and on your preferred yarn and needles you get 6 stitches to the inch, your box number is 8, not 3 like Virginia says. And I probably should have like color coded that green or something, but anyway, this is the number that you want. Your box number is 8. Everything else in here is just like useful information. This column is squares and triangles, number of stitches per half. So like if you're knitting a divided square, you would, there's 48 here and 48 here. And so for the large units 7 and 17, you would need to cast on 96 stitches per inch for each side of the triangle if your bust measurement is 44 and your stitch gauge is 6. Okay, now a caveat on that. You need to decide for yourself what kind of ease that you'd like. And I know a lot of designers, they specify like, this is the measurements of a small, and this is the measurements of a large, and this is the measurements of an extra large, and like they tell you what the measurements are, and they've like pre-calculated in that amount of ease. But they're also going to be giving you like the kind of yarn to use, and I'm leaving the ease of this shirt and the yarn choice, that's up to you, and you can do it how you want. But just keep in mind, when you plug in your measurement on that little stitch calculator, it has to do with the measurement of your sweater. So like if you want it to just fit, do your actual bust measurement, and it should fit pretty good. Now keep in mind, it's gonna, like these sweaters, they're stretchy and they will fit a variety of body sizes. So I tend to go a little on the smaller size, and I guess I'd kind of recommend that you do the same, but like, you do you. That's you can do it how you want. Okay, the next thing with regard to the schematics, if you keep scrolling down down in this PDF, I made something new for you all. I made an automated stitch calculator, or no, like a schematic calculator. And so Stephanie had the great idea, like, you should draw schematics that say like what the different measurements are for each of the various sizes, because like, you know, like I should have measured my own schematic. Like if I had, like I would have figured out, oh, my scarfy things need to be like 12 inches, not 6 inches. And so I could have had better success going forward. But this will do it for you. So like if you have a 44-inch bust, oh, hold on, 44-inch bust, these numbers here are going to auto-calculate. So let's change this to a 40-inch bust. The scarf diagonal thing, which is this section right here, that's the scarf diagonal, and the scarf length is going to be right here. And if it was like if this part was still like disconnected, it would be right there. And the sleeve cap, mine's already kind of sewn shut. Underarm length, length from shoulder, which is right here. So this sweater is a little odd because the top of the way that it sits is just, it's unusual. So the sleeve cap, I think, hold on now. Yeah. So the white thing in the center, it actually comes over and it connects at the back. So it like goes up and kind of like over the clavicle, and it connects back here. And so in the pictures, that white triangle thing is like flat, but in reality, it ends up being curved, and it has a really, like, it shows off the clavicle bones really nicely. And so when I calculated the down in the length from shoulder, that's going to go from here. That is this length. That is not from here, because this thing right here, it kind of like connects back like on the back of your shoulder bone, and it kind of curves down. But anyway, play with the stitch calculator. I'm hoping that you'll find it useful in determining what kind of a size that you're going to get. Now, this calculator doesn't take into effect the different needle sizes. This is just on I just did it based on inches, so figure it's on the larger needle size. So the sections, there's only a few sections that use the smaller needle size, and that's in the original pattern. That's just these guys right here. And so I figured it'd be, well, and here, I think, the white section. I figured since the bulk of the height of this sweater is done on the larger size needles, it would be better to determine calculations based on that. Yeah. So that's winged blouse. You're welcome for the new pattern. Okay, so a few comments. I filled the number on the PDF page 4 and all the numbers populated for me. Can I rely on that? Let's see what PDF page 4 is. You mean page 5? You should be able to count on that. Yeah, if your gauge is correct, and you know, people always say you should make a few gauge swatches and then wash and block them first. Be a good knitter. Don't be like me. I just wing it. But yeah, you should be able to count on that. But do keep in mind that these things are, number knitting is super stretchy because it's garter stitch, and this is one of those sweaters that's on the bias, and so that makes it even more stretchy. And so, I mean, like, let's see what this measurement is across here at the bust line. So these two diamonds, this is 13 inches across. Well, can you see that? Oh, hold on. Nope. There we go. Okay, so this is at the bust line at the underarm, 13 inches across, right? So times 2, that's going to be 26 inches. Well, I have a 36-inch bust, and so this is 10 inches of negative ease, and it totally works. It totally works. It's wild how stretchy this thing is, and the fabric is so light. I think you can get away with a more, like, a tighter ease on a lighter fabric. Like, because this is lace weight yarn, I can do it. Like, no way in heck would I do a 10-inch negative ease on like a worsted weight yarn. But this pattern wouldn't work for worsted weight anyway. Yeah, I would tend to go with a little bit, like either your bust measurement or maybe even a little less if you're comfortable with it. Or you could just do like what Virginia's model did and just take the sweater and like stuff it into your skirt. I mean, then the scarfy things will be big enough for sure if you make the sweater too big. Oh. Bob, you're back. Oh my gosh, I was worried about you. I hope you're okay. We've missed you. I was worried. I'm so glad you're back, Bob. Okay, so Nishibi wants to know, what gauge does the calculator work off of? The calculator does not work off of a gauge. The calculator is just measurements, and so it will work off of if your gauge is 4 stitches to the inch, 6 stitches to the inch. What it's doing is just calculating. Like, there's not even anything regarding stitches in there. It's just a number of inches. So like let me show you. To get the bust measurement, it's just taking the bust measurement and dividing it by 4 for this underarm length. Same thing here, dividing it by 4. Scarf length, same thing. And dividing by 2 to get this length from shoulder here. And I think it's like divided by, I don't know, 2.8 or something to get this measurement. And so it doesn't have anything to do with stitches per inch. This is just the proportions of the sweater based on the size of the bust. I hope that makes sense. So it doesn't work with according to gauge. It's just a schematic. I am so excited that you're using a cotton linen blend. I have done a few sweaters like that, and it's a challenge. It's hard. It's really it's hard. Maybe because I make things difficult for myself, and I'll buy like 3-stranded cotton linen blend and then de-ply it so I can get lace weight. Like, no, don't do that. But anyway, that's how I roll. The original sweater, it calls for a fine 2-ply weaving yarn, so like lace weight yarn or like really light fingering, and it calls for 3 stitches to the inch on number 12 needles. you can get away with it if your yarn has enough loft. But like I'm using lace weight yarn, and it's got a little bit of loft. I mean, not a ton. It's slight, but it's a single, so it doesn't have like a whole lot of girth to it. And it's a single ply lace weight, and I did this on a 7, and I did this on a 5, and I think it's lovely. Like it would even be like great on smaller needles, but I wanted to keep it like light and airy, like Virginia has in her patterns. Yeah, so that's the winged blouse. Where's my notes? Let's see if I'm missing anything. I think that's it for today. That's all the stuff that I had on my plan. Now I'm gonna go through. Mishi B says 20 by 20, 20 by 2, not just 20. I'm gonna need some clarification on that. So for my next Sunday, I'm gonna be, the next 2 Sundays, I'm gonna be out of town. And so I'm gonna be doing this from a hotel. And I'm not gonna have my, how many cameras do I have? My 3 camera setup with my computer screen. I might figure out how to like switch between my computer screen and my face by next Sunday without my fancy switcher. I'm not sure about that. So for the next couple weeks, it's probably just going to be like old school, like it did at the beginning, like, hey, check out this book. Because I'll be in a hotel. I'll be in a hotel room with my laptop. So if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. So I'm doing some traveling as I do, but I'll be for sure here virtually here on YouTube the next 2 nights via a hotel room. So. And I didn't bring out a whole lot of historical research this time. I've had a lot going on. But hey, good news, guys. Okay, so I have this collection, right? This collection of all of these magazines, right? I've got 15 of these things, vintage magazines. I've got McCall's Needlework and Crafts. I've got Women's Home Companion. I've got all these vintage magazines, and a bunch of them have Virginia stuff in it. And I kept saying, I'm going to buy a scanner, and I'm going to scan them in. Well, I finally got the scan. Well, I ordered the scanner. I think it should be here sometime this week. And so I'm going to start scanning all this stuff in. I had to get an oversized scanner. I think I might even have a link to that down in the description if you're curious. I think it does 1117 or like 1417 or something. It's a beast. And so I can scan all these giant magazines. I did submit a copyright form, like questionnaire thing, to the company that now owns McCall's. But McCall's is like defunct, I don't know, 6 years ago or something. So that was months ago that I emailed this company and they never got back to me. So I don't think they will. Probably not. They're in Germany. I still ultimately need to pay the $400 copyright transfer search fee to the U.S. Copyright Office to like officially get, permission. And I'm still going to do that. I just decided getting the scanner was more important. So I'm excited about that because these magazines that I've been collecting, they have so much good stuff in there. They're probably the very magazines that Virginia had in her studio and her, needlework book collection, because she was in them. Like she would have been a subscriber, not just like a contributor, but like a subscriber. And so these would have been the very magazines that she was working from. And so I'm excited to show them to you. Yeah, so I'm going to work on scanning this week and get together some more historical information for you. And I think that's it for today. So unless you all have any more questions, I will sign off this week, and we will see each other again next week. Ooh, I can help with copyright costs. Oh, wow, that's great. Okay, email me, and we will talk further on that, because I've been thinking because this is like kind of, because you all are helping me test this patterns. This is sort of like a crowdsourcing kind of a thing, and so yeah, like we could get a lot more done if I wasn't the only one funding it, you know. Anyway, not that that's, you know, a problem. It's just a little slower sometimes. But yeah, email me and we'll chat. Yes. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to work on this next project with you. And when you get to this section of the sweater, because it probably won't happen by next week, when you get to this section of the sweater, we'll have a discussion, because this whole section here in the chart is super weird and it's very confusing. But anyway, we'll touch base about that again before you get there. Just giving you a heads up. You need a heads up on that one. So anyway, I'm excited that you all came tonight. It really does. It means so much to me that you are knitting along with me and you're interested in Virginia's work. So, all right, that's it, guys. I'm signing off, and I hope that you guys have a really great week. Thanks for coming. Bye.